Just let me know if the audio is good, and I will do a quick recap of what I missed out on. Hmm. Is this any better? Or was it better before? Thanks for bearing with me here. We are trying this out as a new platform. Perfect. So we can take it from here. So just to do a quick recap, to cover what we're going over today, we're going to talk about the current trends that we have in the real estate development market, why closing that gap between blueprint and closing a deal is more challenging than ever before. And we'll actually look at the psychology of what makes someone say yes to commit to a multi-million-dollar vision. This is all backed by science and research. And then we'll also look at how some of the most successful teams are leveraging new technology to build a level of trust and connection that wasn't possible before. So, to set the stage, for more than a decade now, the development sector has been booming. Uh, it's pretty much been due to the low interest rates. Capital was cheap, it was available, and there was an incredibly generous margin for error. But unfortunately, now the easy money is gone, and so is that margin for error. In the PwC's latest emerging trends report, they describe the market as one where we're at a stark inflection point. We're not returning to the old normal, but we're entering a new cycle that's defined by disciplined capital and a flight to quality. So lenders have tightened their standards and they're scrutinizing everything now. One of the critical shifts is that lenders are no longer just underwriting the asset and the borrower, but they're underwriting the viability of the entire sales and marketing plan as a whole. And it goes beyond just the feeling. So it's backed by data. From the same report, a combined 79% expect their underwriting standards to either become more rigorous or remain unchanged. So it's trending upwards since 2021, but it's nowhere near how it was pre-pandemic. And the pressure gets transferred onto the developers to prove a project's viability before breaking ground. And in a cautious market, a weak marketing plan is a major red flag. So let's dive a little bit deeper into why it's a red flag. And it's pretty simple at the end of the day. Lenders know that their loans get repaid when you secure commitments. If you can't show them a modern, practical plan of hitting your pre-sales targets, it's just another risky bet. And that introduces another financial hurdle, which is the pre-sale requirement. Before a lender releases funds to begin construction, they often demand proof that a project will be viable. And the proof comes in the form of signed commitments for a portion of their development, and at times that can range from 55 to 70%. For a developer, every single month that you spend trying to hit that number, you're burning cash on carrying cost. And this is interest, taxes, insurance, security, all for a dormant empty lot. And here in New York, that can be easily $500,000 a month or more for a project that still isn't generating a dime of revenue. And it's pretty simple. One of the biggest reasons why projects stall out or fail at this stage is the inability to sell on that promise effectively. And that brings us to the actual obstacle that we have today. We can refer to it as the imagination gap. And it's actually a term that's been studied and written about extensively. It's that critical space between a blueprint on a page and a client truly believing in the final asset. And to close that gap, it comes down to breaking three mental walls down: doubt, risk, and emotional connection. First, if we wanted to tackle doubt, we can define doubt and where it comes from. It often stems from something called cognitive load, and that's the mental effort required to process and hold multiple pieces of information at once. So, Nobel Prize winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman explains in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, that tasks that demand sustained attention and analysis enable system two thinking. And for him, he describes this as the slow and deliberate and effortful mode of the mind. And because this system two way of thinking has such a limited capacity, this type of thinking is mentally taxing, and people just naturally avoid it whenever possible. For example, if you're showing someone a detailed floor plan, it forces their brain to work through the spatial relationships, the dimensions, trying to envision the space. You're giving their brain homework and pushing them into that slow analytical mode. And for them, it could be a tiring process. And research shows that under fatigue, the default for our brain is skepticism. It's almost a self preservation method by conserving mental energy and avoiding complex decisions. A tired, overloaded brain doesn't feel excitement. It starts questioning and looking for problems. Is this space really big enough? What's the catch? And at the end of the day, you're unintentionally training a prospect to be cautious. A skeptical brain's default answer is typically no. And this theory is actually backed by multiple studies on purchase decisions. So one study shows that static visuals actually increase cognitive strain, while immersive environments reduce mental effort and boost positive emotional responses. In one study, virtual tours increased emotional engagement and intent to purchase by over 20% compared to still imagery. Moving forward into the second wall, it'll be risk. Risk comes from the imbalance of information. Oftentimes, you and your internal team have all the details, the sight lines, the materials, ceiling heights, floor plans, and the client is only able to see a small sliver of it. And that disconnect is risky. It creates a nagging fear of the unknown, of what are they hiding from me? And it's a fair question. Today's clients are incredibly savvy with 24/7 access to the internet. They do their homework. They're used to seeing videos, immersive tours for almost everything. So if a pre-construction property is any less transparent than a built one, they'll just assume that something is being hidden. And the way to fight that fear is with complete transparency and immersion. And the research confirms that when a client feels out of sync with the information available to sellers, that they delay decisions, they abandon deals altogether. And according to Deloitte, one way that digital twins and interactive media significantly reduces perceived risk and actually increases the confidence in pre-construction assets. And this is from the Tech Trends report back in 2020. And the third and arguably the most important wall that we have is our emotional connection. No one makes a multi-million dollar decision with just a spreadsheet. Research from various fields, including neuroscience, behavioral economics, and consumer psychology, show that emotions are the primary driver in major purchasing decisions. Logic often comes secondary to justify these choices after the fact. A joint study by Yumi and Nielsen directly compared user response to the same content in three different mediums: VR, 360 videos, and a flat 2D image. And the results showed that VR often received a 17% higher emotional reaction than a 360 video, and a 27% higher reaction than 2D. And studies in neuromarketing have also used fMRIs and EEGs to analyze consumer reactions, and they found that immersive experiences effectively tap into the consumer's emotional responses. It helps build trust, loyalty, and ultimately helps drive up that purchase intent. Now, how do we break through these three walls? The industry has been evolving for years, and it started with blueprints, which useful for architects and engineers, but for clients, it can be just as confusing as a collection of lines. Then came a huge step forward into architectural renderings, and suddenly it was possible to show the vision in color, realistic lighting and texture, and this was a game changer. Clients could actually see themselves and anchor their imagination. The dream felt more real. And then with animations and cinematic fly-throughs, it gave the sense of movement and scale and flow. It took the client on a journey through the property. And all of these tools are great and still relevant today, but they all share a fundamental limitation. They're all passive. The client is just a passenger on the ride. They can't open a different door, look out the window, or ask what if. And let's not forget about the cost associated with creating a animation or a rendering. It can take weeks or even months and cost an insane amount of money. According to industry benchmarks on the higher end, New York City can cost up to one to $10,000 per image. An animation can cost between to $50,000 or more. And it can take between 6 to 8 weeks of production time. It just becomes a monologue instead of a dialogue with the client. Now, the most logical answer to this is digital twins. It's a living photorealistic virtual replica of a property that clients can explore, customize, and truly experience. The concept of a digital twin came actually from NASA, where engineers built the perfect virtual replica of spacecraft to test before they actually sent them into space. So it became about safety. And this is dating back to the 1970s. In real estate, we use the same principle, a precise, immersive model that mirrors the real world in every detail, one that clients can walk through, change finishes, compare layouts, and even see how the light would fall through their windows at a summer evening. And now technology has taken a massive leap compared to the 1970s. The New York Post recently highlighted that real estate is finally adopting the same technology that powers hyper-realistic video games, and it's tools like Unreal Engine. It's actually a tool that's been around since 1998, primarily used as a game engine. It's been supporting the industry for quite a while now, but with Unreal Engine 5 being released in 2022, it pushed the realism even further. And now it's the industry standard, supporting huge productions like Westworld as well as Mandalorian. And you can actually see in the clip right here, uh, they have a 270-degree LED panel where they're able to real time control the environment, all using Unreal. With pixel streaming, the experience becomes instantly available in any web browser with no downloads or any headsets or beefy computers. And the realism becomes so convincing that it bypasses the skeptical analytical part of the brain. It connects directly into the emotion and memory. So we're no longer just showing a picture of a space. We're putting the client inside their future environment where they have the freedom to explore it their way. And specifically for us at Novaverse, we focus on the aesthetic side of the property. We take the vision combined with the latest innovations in technology and apply them to create some of the most beautifully realistic and emotionally resonant digital experiences possible. A 2021 study published in Energy Informatics found that clients presented with realistic digital twins experienced significantly higher levels of memory retention, emotional engagement, and a sense of ownership than traditional visuals. The emotional imprint created by immersion rather than observation leads to faster and more confident decisions. So let's take a step back and go back to our three walls. So how does Novaverse's digital twin specifically break through these three walls? First, to tear down doubt, it's radically interactive. We eliminate the mental homework. The experience is fluid, accessible from any phone, tablet, computer. We just hand the keys to the client and let them explore. When it's effortless and beautiful, the brain just switches off and goes from analyzing to discovering. Next, to tear down risk, one of the key tenets for Novaverse is to be contextually accurate. A Novaverse digital twin is placed inside a precise and evolving 3D model of the city. So the views aren't guesses. They're immersive and realistic. You're able to experience a development from the street level, from above, from the 57th floor. You can see what the skyline looks through from your balcony or see what it would look like at sunset through your window. You're giving the clients verifiable views that builds unshakable confidence. And finally, to build that emotional connections, it transcends lifeless data. And this is where the magic really happens. A checklist of finish options can be overwhelming. Instead, we let the client stand in their future home or office, cycle through layouts in real time, from open floor concepts to private offices, polished concrete floors to carpets, chandeliers, recessed lighting. It's not just reading specs, they're designing their space. And it turns a prospect from being just an evaluator into an emotional stakeholder. They feel ownership into the space before they even sign a lease. And it's these three walls that are always present in today's landscape. Teams can find their own ways to overcome each one of them, but at Novaverse, we try to break through all of the walls with one unified solution. And that's pretty much how you can break through all of these. So, just to quickly recap, in today's market, capital is cautious. A strong marketing and pre sale strategy isn't optional, it's essential. You're not just settling on a vision, you're giving investors and tenants the certainty that they need to commit. The biggest challenge that we face is the imagination gap. It's built on the three walls. First, doubt that comes from complexity. When visuals force the brain into heavy analysis, clients hesitate instead of being excited. Second, the risk of lack of clarity. When they don't have the full picture, they just assume something's being hidden. And third, the emotional disconnect from static visuals without a personal sensory connection to your project. It's just another spec sheet and a list of numbers. And ultimately, the solution is to replace those passive one-way visuals with interactive, emotional, real-time experiences that places clients inside their future space. And the result is real and measurable. You're able to get faster commitments, shorter sales cycles, and the ability to deliver high impact showings to anyone, anywhere in the world. And the next step really is just to see how this could work for your specific project. So I'd love to invite you to a one-on-one session with our team where we can walk you through a personalized demo showing how your property, your future development would look like in the Novaverse. And with all that being said, I want to thank you guys for bearing with me in the beginning with the technical issues. I'd like to open up the floor for questions. All right. Does anyone here have any questions that they would like to ask? It could be about the presentation, digital twins, Novaverse, uh, comments, takeaways. Happy to entertain them all. Yeah, absolutely. So right after this, you'll actually be sent over a recording of this presentation. And if you would like any sort of information, whether it be the sources where I got all of my information from, or just the presentation, feel free to reach out to this email here, and I can send all of that over to you. So some of the benefits of using Unreal versus Unity. So Unreal has a significant advantage when it comes to the real-time rendering aspect of things. So things like Nanite and Lumen allows for unmatched realism when it comes to rendering geometries, especially when we're getting to the scale of rendering out complete cities and skylines and lighting. All of this combined with their pixel streaming feature allows it to be streamed to any device. So compared to Unity, there's a few different innovations that Unreal has that makes the whole user experience and end user experience a lot more seamless. I hope that answered your question. With poor connection, yeah, so one of the things that pixel streaming enables you to do is actually stream from local regions as well. So if something from a server in Europe isn't able to reach China, what you can do is find either workarounds where it can be hosted on a server that's located within China. And it also provides opportunities to be locally hosted as well. The biggest benefit of pixel streaming is that you don't need any specific sort of hardware. It can be streamed to a phone, an iPad, or whatever device you may have. But if that isn't an option, there are options to host locally, integrate within the sales suite itself. So some of the services that Novaverse actually has is integrating with 360 LED rooms where someone can enter and feel like they're in their property itself. And this was actually done for a property in Hong Kong. So if you would like to see a little bit more information on it, feel free to reach out and I can show you a case study of how they've used it in Hong Kong. That was a great question as well. If there are no other questions, licenses, strict policies on servers with licenses locally. Not sure if I understand the question because the properties would be located within China itself. So they would be accessing things that they would have access to. But happy to look at more so the technical specifics if there is a specific project that you have in mind. But I do know that we do have clients that are in China that are using it totally fine. Yeah, so it can be integrated with CRM, Google Analytics, and other marketing tools. So the Novaverse platform itself has internal analytics. Whenever you're sharing links, you're able to see the view time. You can see essentially which spaces are getting the most sort of traction, so you can know where to designate the most marketing efforts to. But we're also able to program in custom APIs. So say you have a CRM or Google Analytics, we can come up with a custom solution if it's not already baked into the system as well. I hope that answered your question. And I think we are at time here. So before I leave, I just wanted to share a quick little teaser of our New York model now that it's completely released. And when we say that a model of a city is released, what I mean is it's ready to accept digital twins of properties and it's fully explorable for our clients here. So thanks so much for joining. And here, I'll leave you with this.